stick around because in today's video, we're going to talk about how Gunpla can fight the doomer mindset. Let's get it. Welcome back to another episode of the Plamo Therapist podcast. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of talk about this concept of the doomer. And so with all the craziness in the world that's going on today, it's kind of easy to see the appeal of this sort of mindset because, again, so many aspects of this doomer attitude is so relatable. So in today's episode, I want to talk about what the doomer is, how that looks in terms of psychology, and then 3, how can Gunpla fix this doomer mindset? So first and foremost, what is a doomer? Well, a doomer is someone who generally shares a negative worldview that the world is a dark and kind of a depressing and cold place. This negative worldview is often coupled with this idea that because this world is doomed, there's really no point in doing anything or putting in any effort towards any means or just kind of really doing anything with our lives at all. And so, while generally this doomer attitude or this doomer mindset has hit the millennial generation the hardest, it's not strictly generationally bound to those who are in the millennial demographic. There are people who are younger or older who may feel these sorts of same ideas or may feel the sort of same way about the world in general. And so they can fit into the doomer category without being the general doomer age of a millennial. So how does this look in psychology? Well, when you look at the doomer, the biggest issue we see is with the problem is a lack of purpose. The concept of human purpose has been deeply studied through a branch of philosophy/psychology and what we know as existentialism. And so existentialists study the big question that people inevitably come across in their lifetime. It can come when you're a little child. It can come, as you start to get older, as you start to kind of get into your formative years before you become an adult. You answer the question of yourself, why am I here? What purpose do I have on this planet? And so a lot of times when it comes to purpose, there are 2 different ways we can look at purpose. And usually there's going to be an external purpose, right? And a lot of the times for older generations, what we see is with this external purpose is usually an association with religion. A lot of times is our purpose in here is to serve God's will. If you're looking in terms of Christianity, that's an example of an extrinsic purpose. There's something outside telling us why we're here. But as things have gone on, as time has gone on, a lot of times what happens now is with the less, individuals who study religion less or maybe feel less religious or less spiritual, there is now more of a need for something sort of an intrinsic purpose, something inside. Why do I feel like I'm here? But the problem with that is when they start to look internally for a purpose, one of the big things is they start to think about the grand scale of not just their community, not just the planet, not just the solar system, not just the galaxy, but the entire universe. And if you think about how one person's actions affects the grand scale of the universe, it's really easy to make that assumption that, well, none of this really matters on such a grand scale. And then when you look at it from that aspect, there's even a term for this idea that none of this matters or life has no objective meaning or purpose, and that's this idea of nihilism. And so what makes this so popular? Why is this something that, even though it's so dark, it's so down, why is this such a popular thing? Why is this something that a lot of people have been experiencing? Well, number one, it's relatable. It's easy to come across a situation where it's like, if I can't do this, or if this is so hard that it's impossible, then why even bother? And this idea of why even bother goes back to the doomer mindset of it, why even bother with life? And so this relatability comes in so quickly because of situations where we feel like there's no point in doing this or that. So the first part is that it becomes really relatable. The second thing is that part of being this idea that like there's no purpose in life is that a lot of times it's very isolating. But with this invention of this doomer avatar, with the invention of this doomer figure, it becomes a common shared identity that, hey, I'm not the only one experiencing this. Other people are experiencing this issue too. I am not the only one that feels alone. Other people feel this way too. And when we see that other people feel the same way, when we see other people experiencing these same issues, what we come to understand is that we start to push the blame off of ourselves. We take it off of our own internal causes and we start to push the blame of our life circumstances on external sources. And a lot of the times when you look at the doomer, it's world issues, it's global issues. And while generally someone who is much younger doesn't really have much of a say in kind of how the world operates or things that happen in this world, it's easy to see how it feels like a lot of these external causes are why we feel this negative way, or there are so many things going on in the world that I physically can't make a difference. So why even start to make this? Why even start to try to make a difference? And it makes it really easy to fall into this pattern. And again, because it's so relatable and because it's so common that other people feel it, this doomer mindset sets in and feels really solid to a lot of people. And so ultimately, if we have a lot of people that are feeling so negative about life that there is no purpose, there's nothing for us to do, right? That can be one, very detrimental for the individual because now they're looking at a life where they feel like there's no purpose to them. And so usually if people feel like they have no purpose, generally what they won't do is they won't do anything, because if there is no point, why do it? So then the question is, how do we fix this? And more importantly for my channel, how does Gunpla begin to fix this? How does building model kits fix this idea that life has no meaning? Well, first of that is, if you start to build Gunpla, what you start to do is you start to become a part of a different community. You find a bunch of different people, and eventually what you find out is that, hey, they probably have a lot of the same shared experiences that you do. And in sort of this ironic way, when you look at the doomer mindset, it's the shared experiences makes this social connection. And then when we see that social connection, we start to make an ironic positive comparison and saying, like, hey, we both have these same problems, but this person is handling it well. And eventually, what we can do is we could say, if this person is capable of handling it, I should be capable of handling it. Now, that's not always the first thought that people comes to mind, but eventually what we can see is that if we continue to meet with these people who have these shared connections, but are going through their life and they're doing things that make them happy, and they're ultimately happy, the individual will start to wonder, the doomer will start to wonder, why can't I be like that? I'm always so negative, but they're always so positive. We're so similar. What's the difference? How can I get there? And just simply by being a part of a Gunpla community, having a group of builders with like mindsets that have like values as you do, is something that's going to buffer against that negative attitude. That's going to buffer against that negative, I guess, fixation on this doom idea of that this world, this life is meaningless. And so the next part of that is, well, when we look at life being meaningless and just sort of the futility of it all, it builds up a lot of negative emotion on the inside. And so one of the ways we can expel that emotional, builds up that emotional frustration is through art. And so if we are destined to live, we can choose to express our existence how we want. We can build our Gunpla however we want. We can color whatever color we want to make. We can make it our release of all of these negative emotions. It's cathartic in a way that allows us to let go of the things that are bugging us. And so building Gunpla then becomes this way, and we can take the negative feelings of life is futile and let it out and just say, like, sure, whatever, that's the case. But if it is, I'm going to make my statement about it. I'm going to address it in a way that I want to address it. And the most common form is art. That's why a lot of people make music. That's why a lot of people draw or paint and things like that. And that's not to say that those are the only ways we can express ourselves. Gunpla, painting, Gunpla, building, even kit bashing, even if you don't paint anything, just a way in which you can create something is going to help you release some of that tension. And so, with that in mind, as we start to release some of the tension, as we start to feel more positive socially because we have friends that are going through the same things, but they're showing us a positive way, they're showing us a light that, even with all of these negative feelings, we can still be happy. And why? How does that work? What matters? Why does this even, why do we even go here, right? How do we move forward from here? Well, the funny thing is that if life has no meaning or purpose intrinsically, then that means we have the freedom to choose or make our own meaning and purpose. So if you don't know what you want to do, if you have no idea, and if you're like, well, there's no point in the things that I do, right? In the grand scheme of the universe, probably not. But maybe if you look closer within your community, maybe start with your household. What can you do to make this household better so that the other people can feel better, or make the world a little bit warmer for you? Maybe if you help somebody out in your family, or maybe if you help somebody out in your neighborhood, by making their world a little bit of a better place, you have given yourself just a small bit of meaning in that, hey, if I have achieved nothing else with my life, I have at least made this one person's day better. And by taking that little step, you can expand that. What else can I do to make somebody else's life better? What else can I achieve with this life that I have? I have so many years left in my life. What are the amazing things that I can accomplish between now and the time when it is for me to leave this earth? And when you start to realize that because life has no intrinsic meaning, you have the freedom to choose whatever you want. This idea of existentialism is no longer a chain to burden you down. It is now something to set you free. You can now create something in this world that no one has ever seen before. You're now able to go out and do something that's going to make a difference. My purpose in life is to share with you guys the great wonders of building Gunpla and how that can make you feel so much better. That is my existential purpose. And if I make one person's life better through these videos, then I have done my job and I am happy with the life that I have chosen to leave. And so, even with that, no matter what happens, life is going to have its challenges. Life is going to have its hard moments. Life is going to suck sometimes, but we can choose to embrace the suck, or we can choose to let it go and choose happiness instead. We can choose the doom or we can choose the bloom. We can do things that make us happy too, in spite of all of the crazy things that may be going on around us. And so I encourage you to take your Gunpla and look at it as a way to say that no matter how hard life gets, I still have something that makes me happy. And if this one thing can make me happy, then maybe something that I do can make somebody else happy. And so, no matter what happens in this world, it's easy to see why the doomer mindset and the doomer attitude is so popular. But while the doomer in us may never fully disappear, and that idea of the futility and the grand scale of the universe may still kind of linger in the back of our heads, accepting that as part of us and choosing to move forward anyway is the only way we can start to begin to take control of and be happy with our lives. And if you feel like you don't have your life's purpose yet, that's okay. Think of something that you think might be worth doing with your life and pursue it. Go after it for as long as you can, for as long as you want. And if you feel like there is no point to doing this anymore, there's always chance for you to pick up another purpose, find something else to do, achieve greater greatness in your life. Go for the bigger problems that maybe you need to tackle in your grander community, in your state or country that you live in, wherever you may be. Find a purpose and pursue it for as long as you want. And as long as you are continuing to do something with your life that you feel is important, this doomer attitude, this doomer mindset can never hold you back. Why? Because it is the very thing that is going to propel you to achieve in this world. So, with that said, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you found some value in this video. And remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, go do what you love, go make a difference, and I'll see you in the next one.